Brad?
Hi.
Hi, I'm Pam Peterson.
Yes, you are.
Norland.
Yes, how are
I
you?
graduated with you from West Side. How are you doing? Well, great to see you. How's everything going in Congress? No, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's a great honor to be here.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I retired from teaching. I taught for 30-some years, and I sub occasionally, and then just volunteer work. You know, Millard Lions Club and stuff. So I taught at Millard South. Well, I taught at West Side, and then I went to Millard South High School. So yeah, I taught government and economics and social and psych and kind of all those things we did in high school with Mitchell and Nelson.
We were, well, definitely Nelson, we were in class together.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and Winchell, I know, like, that was American. What was it?
AP American. Yeah, we had to read, was it Time Magazine every week for a quiz?
Yeah.
I don't think I was ever as knowledgeable as I was then.
No, Westside, no, that's what got me interested in government politics was Mitchell.
Yeah.
And Bill Nelson. I was so close to Bill.
Oh,
And still,
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, he's still
Yeah, Mac
around.
McCormick
Mac is
and
gone.
I know.
Yeah.
I loved him. When I taught, he was awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, they were all great.
Yeah. But once I see you, I won't interrupt you anymore. Take care. Good luck.
Thanks
in
for all
Congress.
you did for us.
Oh, not a problem, bye.
So what else is going on? Well, the Export-Import Bank, we got the discharge petition you done yesterday. That was our last day. We got 218 people to sign it, Republicans and Democrats. Well, it was funny yesterday because we had Thursday, we had the vote on the oil export ban. And then, so Joe Barton has been there forever. He's at my age, but he's from Texas. And he said, now Brad said, we're glad you're on this bill here. He said, we want you to come to this press conference. We're going to have a press conference right now. So I want you to come on over here. So we had this press conference, and you know, I was the only Democrat, which is fine. I'm always a lot of times the only Democrat. But so we had all these guys and all these oil guys, and there were, you know, all the banks and photographers, and so I got up to speak, and I said, well, you know, we're not really an oil producing state, but I said the one thing we do in Nebraska, I said, is that when we pass a law, hopefully we do this. I said it's kind of when you pass a law, when people look at that law, they can't even remember why we passed it in the first place. It's about time to get rid of it. So that's what I said. Everybody else gave these long speeches about oil, and
but the XM.
Should we get someone?
Yeah, I'll find her.
So the XM Bank is going to be
On the floor. And I think what happened yesterday was and the way they do it is we had to get 218 signatures called the discharge petition that day, literally from the beginning of the day till the end of the day on Thursday. We had to.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'll be your waitress.
Okay, great.
And then let me just run the syrup and drop it off,
Great.
and then I'll be back.
So we had to get the 218 that day, and we have a bill which I'm on, which was being held up in committee. So we got we adjourned at 2:00 yesterday. So by 2:00 we had 218. Actually, we had 221. But you know, it's 218. They don't. If you just discharge it with 218. So we had the 218, which means that the bill will be on the floor by October 29th. And
All right. Hello. How are we doing?
good.
Good. Okay. So are we going to be on separate?
no, we got the.
So on one check?
Yeah.
No,
I got it. Well, I invited you. See, right there.
Lee Cherry you should never buy.
Well, I'm buying. I invited you.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just gonna have.
I'll throw it in the middle, and I'll duck and cover.
I'll get it.
I'll run. I'll let you guys. He's not saying anything. I think I'm going to put it on him.
What are you gonna have, Jim?
I'm just gonna have a black coffee, a juice, and some whole wheat toast.
Okay. And then, did you want orange juice, apple?
Do you have cran apple or
I have cranberry and apple, and I can combine them.
Cranberry.
Okay.
That's good for you.
Small? A small glass like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And then I have coffee set up over here.
Do we have some real cups, though? Do we have some horses?
Yes.
No, you're nice to do it, but I mean, we didn't know how many were doing. What are you going to have?
Can I just get the small order of biscuits and gravy, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm going to have I'm just going to have one pancake and one fried egg over medium.
Over medium?
Yeah,
Okay, so one plain pancake and then one over medium egg.
right.
And then, are you sure you don't want to try our pumpkin pecan?
No, I would normally, but I think I'll just stick with the. I gotta reel myself in.
I
So
understand. I get it. You stick to your face, to what you
Do I remember? Do you have English muffins as well?
Yes.
You do. I make mine English muffins.
English muffin, sourdough, multigrain, or cinnamon raisin?
Multigrain.
Multigrain instead of the wheat toast?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. And then I'll just leave these here.
okay,
Just
yeah,
in
there
case.
may be. Yes, no,
Okay.
good. It means it will come out. Now then it's up to the speaker to put it on, and we don't really have a speaker right now. So it looks like Paul Ryan is going to be the speaker.
Do you think he's going to step back?
I do, and he's for the XM Bank. So, he's also obviously for corporate tax reform. So, I'm hopeful that Paul Ryan will take it. I mean, as of yesterday, when we left, I felt. Thank you. I felt like he was going to do it. That his status is such that. They'll bring us real cups. His status was such that even though it's a risk,
No, I'm fine. I'll just take some water, though, please.
it's a risk, but
Yeah.
he's probably big enough,
Thank you.
status-wise, to get around it. But
Well, I don't know. It's been an interesting process.
Yeah.
McCarthy.
yeah, he was
Evidently didn't have the vote.
he
That
was
a
pretty
nasty thing.
Yeah, he was a little flawed.
Yeah.
He-
It sounds that way.
He, but
So does Shabbat's.
Shabbat's doesn't have any votes.
Didn't have any
No,
votes.
yeah. Hey, how are you?
How do you do? Just want to say hello to the person I voted for.
Thank you.
Always nice to meet them.
Yeah, we like to hang out around town on Saturdays and meet with people, so
Good.
it's a good way to get grounded.
Okay. I don't want to interrupt.
Thanks. Oh, thank you. See you.
Have a good day. So how exactly does that process work? I mean, once they've got the candidate, then do you vote? I mean,
They have
do the head count, make sure you got the votes first mostly.
They have the caucus. The real election occurs in the caucus, and that's secret ballot. And why I suggested we have a secret ballot for speaker was because you can. I mean, my view is you tell your constituents who you vote for, but the reason Boehner left was because the pressure that was put on him that if he didn't. Well, essentially, whomever would have voted for Boehner had he been, a petition filed for his removal.
He didn't have the votes to survive. I think.
No. So anyway, Boehner's out. But anyway, I think Ryan. I don't see anybody else. But if we did get Ryan, we'd have a chance to get some tax reform.
Yeah.
Get export-import done. We met, it was interesting, we had a meeting, we have this group, there are 56 of us, and it's all Democrats, but they're free trade Democrats. They're kind of pro-business, pro-trade, less regulation, and there are only 166 Democrats, 186 Democrats, and there are 56 of us who really, we work together, we caucus together. It's very much like what I perceive to be an average Republican voter, kind of pro-business, but we don't, like to get into the ideological, messy stuff. We want to just get the budget done. So Paul Ryan came in and we had a meeting with him Wednesday, And he said, he said, this is the first time since I've been here that I've been to a meeting like this.
Really?
And it was really good. It was healthy. We discussed, the purpose of the meeting was to discuss the infrastructure, the roads bill, which he's trying to get done too. His position, he said, look, I mean, we have to pay for it. We can't, we have to pay for it. We have to find pay for it. So the dilemma is that because we drive in cars that are more fuel efficient, we drive less, we're $15 billion short of the baseline for the baseline amount that for the roads bill, or the federal share of roads funding, so we're at about 38 billion, and we need 53 billion just to be at the baseline, which is the least. That's no new. That's just maintaining the road system. So we're trying to come up with a bill that would put more new money in it, but it has to be paid for by some other means. And he's committed to doing that, and it's a heavy lift.
Yeah. Well, I know he's been keen on tax reform for a good long time, and that's so much desperately needed, from my perspective.
Yeah. So if he gets in there, there are going to be at least 50. Well, the 28 of us that voted for the trade bill, the TPA, and now TPP is out, and we think that we can get 50, almost everybody in our group to vote for it. Because it's just so incredibly good for us.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just,
nobody really. Yeah. It's not well understood.
No,
but
and on data, it's there's a whole section on data, so that the restrictions that Japan and other countries have on Australia and New Zealand on our ability to buy and sell data across the world, across the globe, is totally removed. I mean, you're basically, it's free access to markets. The technology section is they've never had before in a trade agreement. The intellectual property section. The one thing about the intellectual property section, the one complaint about the trade, where the agreement is, it's still too protective on intellectual property. But the problem is, you give that up, nobody's going to trade.
You got to be protected.
Yeah. So there's a small business section.
Oh, really?
Where we've never had one of those where, if you're a small business that want to trade directly, you have certain protections. You don't have to partner with a foreign partner. If you wanted to, whatever, if you just go ahead and do it. If you want to go to Malaysia.
Yeah, no, I've been a free trade advocate all my life.
Yeah.
So I think it's necessary. So good. Other things are fairly.
Where do you stand with what Russia's doing?
Well, we let
Russia
in. I mean, I didn't like the Iran deal, and
right.
Because I thought we were getting classified. Well, I'm on armed services. We were getting briefings all the time telling us that the biggest threat we have. I mean, there's no question the biggest threat we have in the world is Russia. And they were, they sent signals 2 or 3 years ago. 3 years ago in the Crimea, and what they're doing in Syria is on so many levels bulking up Assad, obviously, but also allowing the Iranians in a bigger way. I mean, everything that we've been briefed on is happening, and the military is very skeptical. I mean, General Campbell, who runs our Afghan operation, was in on Wednesday, and he basically has said the president's options are unacceptable, reducing the force down to 1,000 and then forget. So he has given the president a series of other options in Afghanistan. I mean, Russia is a threat there too, not the same way it was, but they're on the border, obviously. So. What do we have now? We have an expansionist Iran with lots of oil revenue and more to come. Russia certainly not. I wouldn't say Russia and Iran are necessarily, joined at the hip, because the Iranians are going to do whatever they need to do for their own interest, and right now they're using the Russians. That doesn't necessarily mean they always will use the Russians. The defeat of ISIS issue, we have never had a plan to defeat ISIS. So
I think the plan was never to have a plan.
yeah,
I believe the plan was not.
Not to have a plan. I think the plan was to exit, and.
Okay, and then your multigrain is just finishing toasting, and as soon as it's done, I'll bring it out, okay?
Okay.
And the plan that we did have when we went to the Middle East in February, the plan was to, there's a guy who's really quite well respected, General Nagata, has a tremendous amount of respect in the Middle East by our allies and everybody, was put in charge of this building up of the moderate Syrian rebel force. Well, there is no moderate Syrian rebel force. There are those that are opposing Assad and those that are opposing ISIS, but they're not joining the coalition to defeat ISIS because they want Assad out there. So we've lost that. That's gone. There is no moderate.
And I mean, would you agree that that's probably the most major foreign policy debacle of the last century?
I think it's so it didn't have to happen.
Yeah.
And the more I learn, I still, when people say, "What do you think about Bush's decision initially?" I am not of the school that says it was the mistake. Probably the mistake, if there was a mistake, was the goal in the Middle East of creating democracies in our image was unrealistic. And some of Bush's advisors, I think, I don't know whether they actually, what sort of evidence they had. They certainly had evidence of Iraqi, gas, poison gas, and that sort of thing. Whether or not the Israelis had already taken out the reactors, so I don't know whether they. But the point is, whether Bush should or shouldn't have done it, the Congress supported it. And once we got there, and we did get rid of Saddam. At that point, we had an obligation to stay there. I mean, Germany still has 30,000. We have 38,000 in Japan.
Right.
Why don't we just do that?
Yeah, you got once the peace is established, keep the peace. And I think that I agree. You can argue all day long whether he's right or wrong about taking him out.
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought he was right. Who knows?
Well, I was too young at the time, but I mean, now I would say that it was probably not the best thing to do. But
probably hindsight, but we should not. But that's not an excuse for giving it up.
no, I agree.
It's frankly too bad his father didn't take Hussein the first time and put a stabilizing force in there.
Because we did have a legitimate reason to be there. They invaded our ally.
Would you be for arming the Kurds, or where do you stand on that?
Well, we already are. I mean, we are arming the Kurds. But we could do it much more robustly. The Kurds are the only real fighting force in the Middle East that are having any luck with stopping the expansion of ISIS. They are. They are clearly, we are arming, we're not arming them. What we're doing is we're giving them, as of this last week, we sent some more, it's mostly equipment. It's not so much, it's not arms so much. But we should arm them, we should support them.
But don't you think they're really in extreme jeopardy? What's going to happen? Iran is going to take over Iraq, the Shia aspect of it. These guys are just going to be isolated.
Turkey is going to isolate them in the north. No, I think the Kurd to have a Kurdish state. I think Joe Biden was half right
I think so
when
too.
he talked about creating a Kurdish homeland, Kurdish state. And I guess we also have locked ourselves a little bit into this. We're not going to put ground troops back in there. By saying that and making that a policy, I think I think Lindsey Graham is right. You have to never preclude that.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah, take cards off the table. Yeah. The option has to be there.
Has to be there. We're not. I mean, ISIS isn't in Afghanistan. There is some movement towards a reconciliation between the Taliban, but it's so, to me, so seemingly improbable because their goals are so contra to the goals of the Ghani government. I don't know how. I mean, the one thing I'll say about Ghani, and we met him, we were up in Kabul, we met him, and he has a lot of connection to Omaha with Gutierrez.
Right.
Is that he seems to be, corruption was the big issue in that government under Karzai, and I think they're doing what they can. He's trying to open up, he has opened up, I think, constructive dialogue with Pakistan. The Pakistanis are becoming more responsible in the area versus Al-Qaeda in the north of the Afghan border. So there is some positives going on there.